Hello guys, let's talk about the Mendelian inheritance and the non-Mendelian inheritance. So basically, when you say about inheritance, we mean like is the inheriting or taking the genetic traits from one generation to another. So let's start with this Mendel's first law of inheritance. Basically, this law is also called the Mendel's first law of uh, inheritance or the law of segregation. So it states that an organism's characteristics are characterized by their internal factors which occur in a pair. So there are four main concepts in this law. The first one that the genes can exist in more than one form. This means that the genes can have various forms. And the second one that an organism inherits two alternative form of a gene for a particular trait from each parent. So it means that that new offspring inherits two alternative forms or traits of a gene for a particular trait from each of their parents. The third one that during the production of gametes, pair of alleles separate. Thus, each gamete has one allele for each trait. So after the alleles are separate, so there is each one allele for each trait, which is going to combine with the other trait from the other parent. Now, when the two alleles in a pair are different, one is dominant while the other is recessive. So if there are two alleles existing in a pair, the first one is the dominant, which is more visible, while the other one is recessive. So this condition is what we call the complete dominance. Moving on, let's see monohybrid cross D and their results resulted from the crossing and their ratios. So when you talk about monohybrid inheritance, we mean that is the inheritance of one pair of characteristic or trait at a time. Example, Mendel selected the tall plants and he self-pollinated them of these traits that both were tall. Now the results that all of the trees were tall. But in the second example, he also crossed the uh, he also cross-pollinated the pure bleed tall plant and the pure bleed short, that is the dwarf plant. Considering that there are two of them, the tall and the dwarf. Now all plants produced are normal. This means that the tall will have the dwarf together, so they will be like normal, and they're also known as the first filial generation. Hence, if we concluded that the tallness is said to be dominant, which the gene for the dwarfness is said to be recessive in the garden pair. So we can simply see that as the tallness is what will be displayed, so is what we call it a dominant gene, while the dwarfness will be recessive. This means that it is compressed with this the dominant gene. Also, because the gene of dwarf are masked by the gene of for tallness, so that's how it is about the dominant and the recessiveness. Hybrid is an offspring of a cross between parents showing unlikely characteristics. So an hybrid can show uh, the unlikely characteristics different from their parents because of the cross up those genes. Test cross or back cross. This is the cross that involve offspring of two different pure lines. So it can be of the first filial generation whereby they cross to each other, uh, of these two different purines. Now, some conditions in human through Mendelian monohybrid inheritance. Example, a condition that is associated with a single pair of alleles and are inherited in a Mendelian fashion. So such of those conditions are like albinism, sickle cell anemia, Rhesus blood group, and hemophilia. Patterns of inheritance that follow this Mendel's first law. The first one is this dihybrid inheritance. Dihybrid cross, first you have to know that is the inheritance of two characteristics in which is controlled by a different gene, different locus. So example for two characteristics to an organism can be told with the purple flower, also told with the dwarf with the white flower. So there are two characteristics, the toll with the purple and the dwarf with the white. Now the crossing involves the inheritance of two characteristics which is controlled by these different gene of the different locus. So from the above, from more of the studies of Mendel, we made up the following conclusions in this, that the two phenotypes in the ratio of 9:3:1 resembled one or other of the parent. And the other conclusion he made that the two phenotypes did not resemble any of the parents' phenotypes, but instead had combined the characteristics of both parents. And the last conclusion that he made is that the ratio of pro to dwarf plants are 3:1, and that of a purple flowered plant was 3:1. Let's see the non-Mendelism inheritance. Here it means that those that are not involved in the Mendelian inheritance. Now, concepts of incomplete dominance and the complete dominance. So basically, you can see here that incomplete dominance and complete dominance are what forms the non-Mendelism inheritance. Let's start with the incomplete dominance. This is the condition in which no allele is dominant or recessive compared to the other. So basically, there is no that allele that is displayed uh, physically itself. So example, any red and white flowered various plants are crossed, all the plant of the field one generation produce pink flowers. Now, as you can see, there are were red and white, but the field one generation had to get these pink flowers. So it's different out from the normal, from the first genes that were crossed. So there is no any domination or recessiveness of the past genes. Complete dominance, here we talk about a condition in which a dominant gene is completely masks recessive gene. So here it means that that dominant gene it completely appears and it covers the recessive gene. For example, homozygous tall plant crossed with the homozygous short dwarf plant. So basically, you get homozygous tall completely. I hope it's clear. So that's all for this video.